And that means we'll be live.
All right.
Hey everyone, this is Dennis back with Michael Diedrich, and Michael is a ex Apple alum, and he's also a current Googler, working on very important projects and data sets, specifically around COVID. You said there was 20,000 records or something, 20,000 data sets rather, that you worked on for your most recent COVID project, and he's going to talk to you guys about. His design, UX, and all the things that he does. So
Yeah.
I won't steal the thunder. I'll let you get into it. Michael, take it away, and I'll be in the background for tech support if needed.
Thank you so much, Dennis.
All
Really
right.
appreciate the intro. All right. So let me get this ready to go. All right. So hey everyone, I really hope you're enjoying the BitCon conference so far. Thanks so much for joining this session. My name is Michael Diedrich, and I'm a UX designer at Google, formerly Apple and IBM. And today I'm going to talk to you about building products with inclusion in mind. So in today's session, we'll talk about why inclusion in products matter, how inclusion makes products better, the role of UX design in creating inclusive products, the way to create more inclusive experiences, the value of having a diverse team to build products, and then we'll summarize what we've discussed and bring everything together. So to start, picture this. You walk into a restaurant with friends, and you're all seated and given a menu to look at. At first glance, you realize most of the items contain nuts, but you're allergic to nuts and have a dairy-free diet. So what's on the menu doesn't fulfill your requirements, and the restaurant doesn't have dairy alternatives. Do you not eat anything? Or do you ask your friends to go somewhere else that has more variety of options? Surely you'd hope there was something you can do to satisfy your needs. Inclusive design for digital products is much like this. It's the ability to use products no matter what your needs are. When product designers talk about inclusion, we're referring specifically to someone's digital access needs. These needs can be permanent, temporary, or situational. A permanent need might be a user's physical or cognitive abilities, their faith, or their values. A temporary need could be that they have their hands full, or suffering from an ear infection, or just tired. Lastly, a situational need might be that they work outdoors or have limited Wi Fi. All of these things affect the user's digital product needs. These product needs are addressed through what's called user experience, or UX for short. So, what's UX, or user experience? So, user experience is defined as how a person, what we call the user, feels about interacting with or experiencing a product. And a product is a good, service, or feature. So we design the user experience for products, and this allows us the agency to create inclusive products. It might be a physical product, like a video game controller or a bag of potato chips, or a technology product like an app, website, or smartwatch. There are many things that can make up a good user experience. The product needs to be usable, equitable, enjoyable, and of course, useful. So let's break that down. To begin, user experience is about improving usability or making something easier to use. This means that design, structure, and purpose of the product are clear to everyone. Think about a ketchup bottle. Historically, ketchup bottles came in glass bottles. The user had to hit the bottom of the glass to make the ketchup come out. I'm sure you all remember that. Often, no ketchup or too much ketchup would come out of the bottle. Today, The ketchup bottle has been redesigned into a plastic squeezable bottle, which makes it easy to use and allows users to control how much ketchup comes out at a time. UX designers need to think about every person who uses the product. This product might include people with disabilities or people with very different life experiences from our own. For example, one user might find an app with a lot of text easy to use. On the other hand, a user with a visual impairment might want different features like sound. Considering the needs of many different people is important work, and thinking about equitable design is key. Being equitable means your designs are useful and marketable to people with diverse abilities and backgrounds. User experience is all about making things enjoyable to use, which makes a positive connection between the user and the product. UX designers foster that positivity, a positive connection, by taking a user's thoughts and feelings into account when making products. Think about ordering takeout food online. When you search for a restaurant in Google or Yelp, you can see photos of dishes and read reviews from other people who have eaten there. This experience is enjoyable because you can make a more informed choice about what you order and leaving you feeling happier about the product. So how do we figure out what makes users happy with the product? That's where research comes in. To know how users feel, we have to collect evidence on how they're experiencing that product in real time and ask them about it too. As humans, we want products that are useful and meaning that they solve the user's problems overall. For example, if you're lost, a map app telling you how to get home is useful. But if the app can't find where your current location is, it's not that useful anymore. So now we know what it means for users to have a good experience. Why is this important to business? In 2018, the research firm McKinsey & Company studied companies in 3 industries: medical technology, consumer goods, and retail banking. They found that regardless of industry, business that focus on goods and focused on good usability and design perform better than their overall competitors. Basically, it comes down to this. When people like a product, they use that product a lot and they recommend it to their friends and family. And more people using the product means better business for the company as well. Plus, when users have a good experience with the product, they are more likely to have a positive opinion of the company that made it. It's a win-win for the user and the business. Despite all this, believe it or not, a lot of companies don't understand the important role that UX can play in improving their overall business. So now we're going to talk about good versus bad UX design and what contributes to one or the other. Have you ever created an account on an app or had no idea what to do next? Or have you pressed a button only to find that you thought what was going to happen didn't actually happen? Predicting user roadblocks and potential design mishaps is what good UX design is all about. It might seem like good design is based on a personal preference, but most designs that are considered poor or unpleasant for the user don't reflect the user's needs. Think about a product as simple as a door. Have you ever tried to leave a room, pull the door handle, and the door didn't budge? That's because you were supposed to push the door, but not pull the door. UX designers think about how to improve the user experience with the door so that they can easily exit and enter. Doors of this kind of poor user experience are called Norman doors. This term was conceived by Don Norman, who invented the term UX. In his book, The Design of Everyday Things, which I'd highly recommend, it's a really great book, he describes this phenomenon and talks about how user experience isn't always considered in product design. Another example in digital products is when Well-designed apps aim to save space on the screen by using icons instead of text, so more information can fit on the screen. Icons are also pleasing to look at and easy to understand, no matter what the user's native language is. But sometimes the meaning of an icon is impossible to figure out unless you tap on it. In that case, text would be a lot more useful. Good design considers the user's needs. For the user to have a good experience, and as we discussed before, the product needs to be usable, equitable, enjoyable, and useful, among other things. For example, the purpose of a shopping app is to buy things. If you put a pair of shoes in your virtual cart, you expect to be able to buy them, naturally. But if you add the shoes to your shopping cart and then are told that they're out of stock, that's not a really good user experience. And good user experience should create products that are intuitive and easy to use. Each product should be designed to make the user feel a certain way. UX design should tie a specific emotion to the experience of using that product. If you pay close attention to things you use every day, such as the direction you have to turn the faucets in the bathtub, the way your baby's pajamas button, if you have a baby, like myself, what error messages on the phone mean, and which way to open doors, you'll be able to spot examples of good and bad UX. You'll start to recognize both positive and negative aspects of each of the designs you see. Use your own experiences to think about what makes a good design or a poor design. And ask yourself things like, how could it be made better? Or what's already working with the design? So here you can see examples of designs that don't work very well and are not intuitive. Now we're going to deep dive into inclusive design and the parts that make it up. Products are typically designed with a narrow market, but inclusive design aims to fill in the gaps. One of the hardest things to remember when building products is that you yourself, the person who's building the product, is not the user. If we use our own abilities and biases as a starting point, we end up with products designed for people of a specific gender, age, language ability, technical literacy, and physical ability. Those with specific access to money, time, and social network. When designing for inclusive design, we need to consider factors such as gender, language, ability, ethnicity, culture, religion, economics, and age. Ability is a subcategory or form of inclusive design where we look at things such as vision, hearing, cognitive ability, and mobility. Let's break down some of the larger areas of inclusive design and talk about some of the examples. Designing for self-expressed gender in digital product may bring to light challenges around privacy and copywriting, and use of illustrations, to name a few. A few ways to meet these challenges, for example, you can look at privacy. We can allow the user to use incognito mode in a browser. For copywriting, we can use gender-neutral pronouns when appropriate. And for use of illustrations, we can point to use of diverse characters and families to reflect that of their own. Sometimes native or preferred language of communication should be considered when we're designing digital product. We see opportunities to make this experience more inclusive, to name a few: copywriting, illustration, and iconography and audio. To address these, for example, in copywriting, we use shorter, direct sentences and labels in the interface. For illustrations and iconography, we can create language-specific icon sets. And for audio, we can offer translations into their native language or preferred language. So first up is ability, which has to do with the user's current condition with regards to physical, cognitive, and sensory capabilities. Some challenges a user might have are difficulty writing, keyboard navigation, and seeing certain colors. Some potential solutions for this are writing, having alt text and screen reader labels, So alt text, when you roll over something, on the browser, you see a little pop-up. For keyboard navigation, using large touch targets that are easy to access for the user. And for colors, using high contrast so the user can make a distinction from one color to another. For those that are a part of a self-expressed ethnic group in digital products they use, they may come across experiences where the copywriting, illustration, and overall product decisions don't align with who they are. For copywriting, we can conduct research and obtain feedback from underrepresented users and incorporate this feedback into the product. For illustration, we can have diverse product teams working on the project to create the illustrations. To address the overall poor product decisions that don't align with self-expressed ethnic group, we can create region-specific products as well. Culture has to do with the collective behavior and attitudes of a specific to a certain group. Marketing messages, materials, and branding, emotional design such as colors and product decisions designers make can present culture-related challenges for users. To address these, marketing and branding, we can conduct research to make what the user sees in ads more relevant and true to their life and personal experiences. For emotional design, such as color, we can be mindful of the colors with subtext such as black, red, that don't always have the same meaning cross-culturally. And for product decisions, we can ensure the metaphors we choose to use are somewhat universal in nature. The current level of income a user has can immensely affect their overall experience with digital products. We have an opportunity to optimize the user experience, regardless of the economic situation of the user. Data usage, screen resolution, and the user's primary device all have a bearing on the experience that they have. We can address this on both ends of the spectrum. For data usage, we can offer both light and heavy data experiences for their digital products. For low or high resolution screens, we can offer high contrast so that the content shows up well that they see. And if the user has a mobile phone as their primary device, as opposed to a laptop or a desktop computer, we can offer a mobile first experience where we design with the phone in mind as the primary user experience. From baby boomers to Gen Alpha, age can have a great impact on how someone uses a product. Depending on what category they fall into, they might have a varying feeling about privacy, feature sets in products, and overall values. To address these feelings, we think about things such as affording different levels of privacy based on circumstances, designing feature sets that suit the needs of the demographic, designing content that is in line with the values of the user, and designing age-specific experiences and keeping in mind the user's cognitive abilities. For example, I have a 7-month-old boy at home, and it's almost like he seems like every day he has new abilities. It's growing so fast. As kids, physical development throughout childhood changes. So do their physical abilities, constraints, and device preferences. Touch gestures such as swipe and tapping big targets are easy for all children, but fine mouse or trackpad gestures such as dragging are hard for younger children. The picture shows a screenshot of the Lego Junior app. Research data shows that 5-year-olds could easily play the app because it only required them to push one big button, that button in the corner there, that green button. The button was so big that it required little motor coordination ability to actually get the kids to actually play the game and to be successful at pressing the button and playing the game. In many cases, the digital products we create are only as diverse as the teams that create it. So let's talk about the importance of having a diverse team building products that we use every day. So limiting unconscious bias in products start with having an inclusive team to design products to begin with from the start. When putting together a team, there are a multitude of attributes to look for that help limit unconscious bias from seeping into the digital products, such as having different skill sets, languages, locations, and backgrounds. UX designers come from a lot of backgrounds: marketers, artists, teachers, small business owners, cashiers, anything really, you name it. Rather than sharing similar work histories, UX designers tend to share common skills and interests instead. UX designers are empathetic too. Empathy is the ability to understand someone else's feelings or thoughts in a situation, and it's a major part of UX. In order to design for everyone, we need to understand how a person might feel, what the person might think in any situation. Just like a lot of UX designers don't share work histories, they don't always share educational backgrounds either. A lot of UX designers learn on their own by taking courses and teaching themselves the skills they need to get entry-level jobs. They're pretty resourceful too, tapping into experiences from other jobs or hobbies to build a foundation for their new careers. So let's take a look at what UX designers actually do. When you think of the word design, you might think it's all about visual aspects of a product, but that's only one small part of what UX designers actually do. In fact, there are many different kinds of UX designers, such as interaction designers, visual designers, and motion designers. So let's start with interaction designers, who focus on designing the experience of a product and how it functions. They figure out how to connect the user's needs, the business goals, with what's actually feasible to build. For myself, as an interaction designer at Google, my team and I are responsible for defining the user experience for security and privacy-related tools. Similar to interaction designers, there are also graphic designers who create visuals that tell a story or a message. Graphic designers usually work on the appearance of a physical product, like an invitation or a poster, while an interaction designer focuses on how users interact with the product. There are also visual designers who focus on how a product or technology looks. They might also be responsible for designing logos, illustrations, or even icons. They might also decide what font color, size, or even work on product layouts as well. Motion designers are another common type of UX designer. They think about what it feels like for a user to move through a product and how to create smooth transitions between pages on an app or website. Outside of design, there are many other roles in the field of UX. Collaboration is an important part of UX designer's job. So I'll talk about a few of the common colleagues a designer might work with. So UX researchers. UX researchers conduct the studies or interviews that help us learn how people use a product. Then there are UX writers who think about how to make the language within a product clear, to make the user experience more intuitive. This could include writing labels for buttons or adjusting the tone to be formal or friendly. Here you see an example of Spotify. This is like a 404 when there's like a page break. They could have just wrote something very generic, but they decided to get very creative, 404s and heartbreaks, relating it to the music because it's a music-related site. Next up, we have product designers who often act as a bridge between interaction designers and engineers. They make sure the first and final designs in the finished product materials match and that the assets are ready to be handed off to the engineering team. Which brings us to UX engineers, one of the groups that UX designers work with most frequently. UX engineers translate the design intent into a functioning experience like a website or an app. And finally, UX program managers ensure clear and timely communication so that the process of building a useful product moves smoothly from start to finish. This might include setting goals and writing project plans. So to conclude and summarize, To address users' digital access needs, we need to build more inclusive digital products with user experience design. We have the opportunity and obligation to build inclusive products that reflect the spectrum of realities that define our users. And lastly, I have a few references for you if you're interested in learning more about this topic for further study. The first is a course that I had the pleasure of working on in collaboration with Coursera and Google. And it's a UX designer certificate program, and it's aimed to help people get qualifications in high-paying, high-growth job areas, including over 100,000 need-based scholarships and apprenticeships, and there's no college degree required for this. Second one is a book by Annie Jean-Baptiste, who works at Google as well, and it's called Building for Everyone. And it's an excellent book on inclusion that I recommend that you check out to kind of go a little bit more into detail about some of the things that I was discussing before. And lastly, this is something I also mentioned earlier in the presentation. It's a book by Don Norman, which is called The Design of Everyday Things. And it's one of the seminal books on UX design, and it really takes a holistic approach on UX and looks at topics beyond digital products, but also talks about how we show up, how it shows up in the world we interact with every day. And that's it. That's all I have for you today. Thanks so much for your time and attention. I really appreciate it. I want to thank Blackstone Technology for the opportunity and everyone that signed up for this session. I really hope you enjoyed it. And, thanks so much, everyone. I hope you enjoy the rest of the convention.
Thanks, Michael. Much appreciated. Enjoy the rest of your day as well. Thank you.
My pleasure.